Recently, more photos were leaked of filming in London for the new HBO Harry Potter show. The pictures appeared to show Dominic McLaughlin's Harry and Nick Frost's Hagrid going to the leaky cauldron. And honestly, in my opinion, it does seem like McLaughlin and Frost are starting to build a good connection, which is something I think is crucial for Harry and Hagrid's connection for the future of the series. Their relationship is one of my favourite aspects of the story, and funnily enough, we're actually going to get another glimpse of it in today's episode of my vision of the show. So let's jump into my vision for Harry Potter on HBO, Season 2, Episode 5, Polyjuice Potion. The previously on Harry Potter recap shows the trio finding the writing on the wall and Mrs. Norris, the lesson with Professor Binns that revealed the Chamber's legend, and Hermione's announcement of her wild plan to brew Polyjuice Potion. The cold open for this episode follows the same idea from the previous episode, and it's something that I'm hoping to become kind of a motif for this season. The camera focuses on the fat lady's portrait, which slowly creaks open, and we see Colin Creevey sneak outside with a bunch of grapes. The camera follows him as he sneaks through the deserted corridors in a style that we got accustomed to in the previous season with the trio's many midnight outings. Once again, we hear that cold, sinister voice making threats. Colin stops suddenly and drops his grapes. He slowly raises his camera and turns around before freezing as if turned to stone. The title sequence then rolls. Before we properly jump into this massive episode, if you're enjoying the videos, please subscribe to the channel and also like the video and hit the notification bell so you are updated for this season. We open in the hospital wing. The camera focuses on the petrified form of Colin Creevey, then pulls back to show the grave faces of Madame Pomfrey, Professor McGonagall, and Dumbledore. This scene is crucial because it's really the first time that we see the adults getting truly rattled. Professor McGonagall isn't her usual stern, composed self. She's genuinely frightened. Dumbledore examines Colin's melted camera, confirming the chamber is open, but shifting the mystery from who to how, which is a massive story beat. It wasn't until a recent reading of Chamber of Secrets that I truly understood what this meant. Dumbledore already knows that it was Tom Riddle who opened the chamber last time, and it must be Voldemort who is behind it this time, hence why he is asking how instead of who, as everyone assumes Voldemort to be gone. We then cut to the next morning with Harry healed, desperate to tell Ron and Hermione what he witnessed in the hospital wing. He finds them in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom as they have already started work on the Polyjuice Potion. I've included this moment to show their initiative, really. They're not just waiting around, they've heard what's happened to Colin and they are getting straight down to action. But they hit a wall. The potion is incomplete and some of the ingredients can only be found in Snape's personal stores. Hermione then devises the plan. She'll do the stealing while Harry and Ron create a diversion. I think the potions class diversion could be a real masterclass in tension and dark comedy. We need to see the real risk they're taking. Snape's dungeon is already a high-pressure environment, and causing an explosion there is stupidly dangerous. Towards the end of the class, while Snape's back is turned, Harry throws a filibuster firework straight into Goyle's cauldron. This causes absolute chaos, and it will be incredibly fun to watch, with Malfoy growing a pumpkin-sized nose and Goyle's eyes growing to the size of dinner plates. However, when Snape holds up the remains of the firework and says,
"If I ever find out who threw this, I shall make sure that person is expelled,"
he stares straight at Harry. This is another opportunity to really highlight how terrifying Snape can be, as it's something I felt was often missing slightly from the movies. As they head to Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, Harry says that he's sure Snape knew it was him. However, the panic turns to excitement as when they arrive, Hermione adds the ingredients and she says it will be ready in 2 weeks. We cut to black to end sequence 1. Sequence 2 opens up on a sign on the Gryffindor notice board saying Dueling Club tonight, 8 p.m. We then cut to the Great Hall and the whole of Harry's year is there, buzzing with excitement. The first part of the Dueling Club will be pretty much like the movie, with Lockhart delusionally boasting about his abilities before Snape humiliates him with Expelliarmus. The next part will differ largely from what we saw in the movie. Lockhart instructs all of the students to split into pairs, but before Harry can pair up with Ron, Snape comes up to them to break them up. He puts Harry with Malfoy, Ron with Seamus, and Hermione with Millicent Bulstrode. The duels are a catastrophe. Spells fly wildly, Neville and Justin Finch-Fletchley knock each other out, Ron's wand backfires on Seamus, and in a fantastic physical bit, Hermione is put into a headlock by the much larger Millicent Bulstrode. I like seeing these moments where other students are included in scenes like this because once again, it just makes the whole student experience much more believable. Panicked by the total chaos, Lockhart calls for another demo. This time, Malfoy versus Potter. Like in the book, we've already seen Harry and Malfoy do their main duel, so this mini duel is only Malfoy conjuring the snake. And unlike in the movie where we saw Harry whispering in Parseltongue, this time we will hear Harry speaking in English, although it is slightly raspy. This is more in line with the book, as Harry and the reader don't know that he's been speaking another language until Ron and Hermione's conversation later. Once the snake slumps to the floor and Snape vanishes it, Harry turns around and grins at Justin Finch-Fletchley, who looks terrified and turns around, sprinting from the Great Hall. We cut to Ron and Hermione dragging Harry into the common room where they go on to reveal what his gift is. The ability to talk to snakes is a mark of Salazar Slytherin, and now essentially the school will all think he's the heir of Slytherin. We then cut to the next day where Harry is a pariah with people scattering all around him. We follow Harry as he enters the library where he sees Ernie Macmillan convincing the other Hufflepuffs about his guilt. Harry steps out to confront them, but their minds are made up. In a fury, Harry storms out of the library and, without looking where he's going, walks straight into Hagrid, who is holding a dead rooster. Another clue, by the way. Hagrid tells Harry that he's been visiting Dumbledore because he wants to put a charm around his coop, and when Hagrid leaves, Harry continues on his way. However, again, because he isn't paying attention, he then trips headlong over something lying on the floor. He has tripped right over the petrified body of Justin Finch-Fletchley. And as he looks around, he also sees nearly headless Nick's body floating a few inches above the ground, dark and smoke-like. Before Harry can even process this, a door bangs open and out comes Peeves, who sees Harry, Justin and Nick, and his face splits into a wicked grin.
Attack! Attack! Another attack! No mortal or ghost is safe! Run for your lives! Attack!
The corridor floods with people, and in the chaos, Ernie Macmillan points a finger at Harry and says,
"Caught in the act!"
A cut to black ends sequence 2. Sequence 3 starts with the camera following Harry and Professor McGonagall as they approach the large statue that guards Dumbledore's office. And as Harry steps into the office, it's exactly exactly what is described in the books, with whirring instruments and snoring portraits, similar to the movies but a little bit more detailed. I'd also like to see the pensieve in the corner, because I know this wasn't actually mentioned in the book, probably because the author hadn't actually thought of it yet, but having these little nods to some things that will become very important in later seasons will be pretty cool to see, and it's something that makes the show a little bit more unique. The rest of the scene will be pretty much exactly like the movie, with Harry trying on the sorting hat, the introduction to Fawkes, and the explanation of Phoenix abilities by Dumbledore. What we do need to focus on is Hagrid's frantic burst into the office, where he goes on to defend Harry. Obviously it is very funny, but it also showcases that blind, unwavering loyalty between Hagrid and Harry. I love this interaction by Hagrid in the book, and I really hope the show reinforces that relationship between Harry and Hagrid, as I do think that sadly kind of fizzled out towards the end of the movie series. Dumbledore reassures them both that he doesn't think Harry did anything wrong, but he does go on to ask the question, "Is there anything you want to tell me?" The camera holds on Harry's face and we see him wrestling with it before he says no. This truly is again Harry demonstrating his loyalty. Right now, his loyalty isn't to the teachers or Dumbledore, it's to his friends Ron and Hermione. The episode then jumps into the next of Hogwarts changing motifs, with the jump to Christmas, with snow falling and Christmas decorations popping up around the castle. During this motif, we will also see Harry walking around the corridors as people scatter, as if thinking he might attack them. We'll also see Fred and George following Harry, calling out,
"Make way for the heir of Slytherin, seriously evil wizard coming through."
And we'll see Ginny's reaction to this as she looks sad and scared. Yet another clue. Like the movie, we then cut to the trio in the Great Hall as Hermione goes over the plan to trick Crabbe and Goyle into eating some cakes with sleeping draught, locking them in the cupboard and taking their hairs. The execution of tricking Crabbe and Goyle is also pretty much the same, because honestly it's just hilarious, and we'll see each step of the plan, including them heaving them into a nearby broom cupboard. I almost envision it like an old Laurel and Hardy sketch. The transformation scene in Myrtle's bathroom is where I really want to see some of this massive budget put to good effect with up-to-date special effects. To be honest, I do think the movies did a great job with Polyjuice Potion. However, I think we could go that one step further, make it a little darker, just to highlight the gravity of what this potion does. In short, it's both brutal and painful magic. Seeing Harry and Ron transform into Crabbe and Goyle is both exciting and honestly kind of terrifying. After the transformation, they wait for Hermione, but she tells them to go on ahead, and realizing they're wasting time, they head out of the bathroom. Disguised as Crabbe and Goyle, they awkwardly make their way through the castle, and honestly I think it's going to be a great source of physical comedy. After a failed attempt to get directions from a Ravenclaw and a meeting with a suspicious Percy, their salvation finally arrives: Malfoy himself. We follow them down a dark staircase before they arrive before a seemingly blank wall, as the music grows more and more tense. Staring at the wall, Malfoy says,
"What's the new password again?"
Oh yeah, pure blood.
A giant snake then appears out of the floor and slithers over the wall, revealing a hidden door. Malfoy opens it and the three of them step inside. We cut to black, and the credits roll. I really want the reveal of the Slytherin common room to essentially be what we saw in Hogwarts Legacy, as it's probably my favourite common room entrance, and there have been rumours that the show is going to try and incorporate some of the things we saw in the game. And that's my plan for episode 5. The episode really is mainly about escalation. We see the fear really take root, not just in the students, but in the teachers as well. making the threat seem a lot more real. So what do you think? Does this more dark approach suit this episode in your opinion? And what would you like to see brought to life? Let me know down in the comments. Again, remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss my vision for Harry Potter Season 2, Episode 6.